78 years ago today, Bugs Bunny made his debut. Huntsman Elmer J. Fudd meets that pesky wabbit for the first time in A Wild Hare, a animated short subject from the Warner Brothers. What's up, Doc? For Bugs Bunny, it'll be crazy popularity, decades of movie releases, a Oscar win, and a TV compilation show that runs for 40 years.
Dude,
Shout out to Bugs Bunny.
let me tell you something. Let me say this about the Looney Tunes, right? The Looney Tunes was the blueprint of funny. Mel Blanc, the man of a thousand voices. Mel Blanc was the fucking man, dude. Here's the thing. Here's a guy, you got to understand, and this is in the beginning, where animation was in its infancy. You know what I mean? It's like just it's beginning. I mean, dude, they practically just started having pictures, what they call it, motion pictures, moving pictures at first, and motion pictures and talking, the talkies, if you will, because they had no movies at the time. There was a lot of silent films, a lot of great films and shit, but the time it was silent. So you have to understand, this was animation. I'm not saying it was the first one, but Looney Tunes was comedy and animation at its finest. Now, people could talk about Walt Disney. People could talk about, you know what I mean, and in terms of like Steamboat Willie, which is a Mickey Mouse introduction. It's all fine and dandy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna knock that original shit, But I will say that the Looney Tunes was the greatest comedy of all time, especially when you're a kid. It's almost to a point where people are on the fence about it right now. You know what I mean? Because Looney Tunes could be something considered like, I don't think this is for the children of this day and age. This is very offensive. You got a guy shooting, you know what I mean? A duck, yeah, a duck season, rabbit season. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. In the animators, you talking about winning the Oscars and everything. This is uncanny, profound animation at its best. Profound. Chuck Jones, Tex Avery, Fritz Ferlin, June Foray, who did all the women voices, by the way, like the granny and the witch and everything. And it was just the greatest ensemble of a cast. And I told you, Mel Blanc was the guy. He was the man with 1,000 voices. He did the Bugs Bunny, the Tasmanian Devil, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, anybody you can name. And it was so funny because sometimes you can hear like these voice actors, right? And they kind of do it voice. And that's like the voice, and you hear like in a cartoon or something. But like when you hear them talk, that's their regular voice. It's like, oh, he sounds like that character. Some people say like Billy West, like, oh, Billy West, he does a lot of voices, but he sounds like when he's playing Philip J. Fry, he sounds like Philip J. Fry when he's talking like he's doing a Comic-Con, right? Mel Blanc was different. Mel Blanc did Yosemite Sam, Bugs Bunny, like I said, those characters, Sylvester, the cat. Right? Do those characters sound different to you? Sound the same to you? No, I believe not. He was great. And then when Mel Blanc talked and he did interviews, right, which he really did, he sounded like a regular guy. He sounded like a guy who didn't do none of those voices. It's amazing. I thought it was great. But the Looney Tunes, man, had great art, great talent, and they were so funny. And here's another thing also. They were very topical at the time. You had, like you said, you had the Bugs Bunny coming out there. He was singing the songs at the time. They'll sing like Sinatra, or they had these episodes when they had like, James Cagney and all these old time stars. And the reason I know a lot of these old time stars because I was a big fan of Looney Tunes, man. I was a big fan. I'm a comedian at heart, man. I love comedy. Heath Saxon knows this. Anybody who listens to the show, I'm a big fan of the great comedy arts. But listen. I know people are like, is he talking about cartoons? Yeah, you fucking right. I'm talking about cartoons. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the fucking Transformers movie and shit or G.I. Joe. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, I love that shit too. Don't get me wrong here. But I think sometimes though, a lot of these guys that need to be adults. Enough with the cartoon T-shirts if you're in your mid-20s. Put that away, man. Look, I'm just talking about nostalgia here. I love nostalgia. I feel like I'm a historian at heart, and the Looney Tunes to me, Disney was great because Disney was like classy and shit. You know what I mean? You had your Donald Ducks and all that Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse shit. You know what I mean? They were equality. You know what I mean? And then it was like, but they were like, it was funny, but it was something you put on like on a Christmas day, and you got the kids there and they love it, right? It's classic, great animation. You can tell, top quality shit. The Looney Tunes was like the South Park, if you will, of back in the days, because it was great animation, great fucking artists, man, great storytelling, and great, people behind the scenes, great voice actors. And I'm telling you, and it was like, it was raunchy. It was raunchy. There were actually Looney Tune cartoons that were in black and white that used to curse. They were like Porky Pig cartoons that where he cursed, and it was great. And I'm just saying, so it was like, man, that era was a fucking, in that cartoon, like you won't see that anymore. It's to a point, like it definitely holds up. My niece and my nephews, I told you, they're about like 6 and 8 years old, 7 years old, I believe. I don't want to say the wrong thing here because I'm, but they're like 6, 7 years old, and I love them to death. But they still watch the Looney Tunes. You know what I mean? They love, the Roadrunner and the Coyote. Tweety Bird is always popular, and more important, Daffy Duck, and more importantly, Bugs Bunny. And Foghorn Leghorn, it's like when you get older, you get the jokes more. Like you're a kid, it's like, oh, it's about the slapstick shit, and it's hilarious. But it's funny. You go back to that shit, man, and it's fucking still holds up. It's so funny, right? The Looney Tunes, you think about it, because you can watch a movie that you love, like the Titanic or something, right? You're like, oh, that was a great movie. I remember that was my favorite movie when I seen it. Then you watch it now, you go, oh shit. I love the movie still, but the CGI may not hold up as well, right? It's a lot of movie like that. Like, oh, I mean, the effects may not hold up. The special effects doesn't hold up as I thought it did when when I first seen it, which is rightfully so. Movies evolve, but man, the Looney Tunes hold up. They hold up. I'm telling you right now. I don't care who you are from around the world. People who are watching this Looney Tunes in German, in Bosnian, in Israeli, in fucking Pakistani, it doesn't fucking matter, man. It still holds up. It's hilarious. It's one of the few things that is still playing to this day. In any country you are, you can find the Looney Tunes somewhere, and people know what it is. Bugs Bunny and shit, and it's hilarious. Now, that's no disrespect to Disney. I know Disney's a big conglomerate, big fucking billion-dollar business. I get it. So is Warner Brothers. So is the Looney Tunes. And I'm just saying, but it's just my type of comedy. It's my cup of tea, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on, Sack.